Book. It's a simple word that you and I can both read and write, and we probably learned this in first grade or so. But the interesting thing is that there are people around the world that could not read or write this book. According to the CIA World Factbook, there are 4.84 billion people over the age of 15 in the world, of which 796 million people are illiterate. That means 796 million people, or 17% of our world, cannot read or write. Let's narrow this down a little bit. The second largest region in which literacy is an issue is sub-Saharan Africa. That's all the nations in Africa below the Sahara Desert, in which 176 million people cannot read or write. That's 37% of this region. Now, we've learned a lot today about the different health issues that sub-Saharan Africa is facing and many developing countries are facing. But if these people can't read and they can't write, then how are they supposed to educate themselves about health issues? How are they supposed to learn and understand the health risks? Illiteracy is a large issue, but we have a solution that can create a dent and help solve this issue. My team visited Liberia this year, and in doing so, we visited many schools and talked to students and asked them about their daily school routine. We learned that many of them have their daily routine much like us. They wake up in the morning, they start with breakfast. Might not be Eggo waffles or Sunny D, but breakfast nonetheless. And instead of boarding a yellow school bus, they walk 2 miles to school. Now, the majority of people living in Africa do not live in metropolitan areas, rather live in remote areas and in villages. So they must walk to school. So they make that 2-mile trek, sometimes on dirt roads, sometimes on mud roads, and if it's rainy season, they may not even be able to make that trek. But once they arrive to school, there's a schoolhouse with about 40 children and 1 teacher. Now 40 children of all different ages and 1 teacher trying to, look over 40 people, and then on top of that, trying to teach different education levels. There are no computers or technology because there is no electricity. So the situation at hand is that we have millions of people that are illiterate and not at the educational level they should be. And then we have schools, but that aren't working. So there's low access to textbooks, and that's due to the fact that either they can't be found or they're too expensive. There's distance, and the infrastructure of roads is difficult to get to. And furthermore, the teachers do not have training and they do not have resources. And to top all of that off, there's no electricity in the buildings. Now, what these students need is a way where they can actually self-teach, where they can, while they're at home and can't make the trek to school, can actually learn at home. Or while they're in school and the teacher is helping other students at other educational levels, can actually learn themselves. They need a product that's built for the developing world. I want to propose to you all the iSlate. The iSlate tablet is a touch-screen tablet about this big. It's an interactive device made for the developing world. Most importantly, it's cost-effective and affordable. At a $100 price point, it comes in lower than the yearly cost for students, for student textbooks. So for 1-year student textbooks, it's anywhere from $125 to $150. But with a one-time investment for a student in an iSlate, they can use this for many years and have their textbooks loaded into it. Secondly, the hardware. Because of the processing system, it uses very little energy and therefore can be solar powered. That means students can actually learn and use this technology without having to actually plug into a wall. Secondly, the software side of the iSlate includes a textbook mode and a workbook mode. In the textbook mode, you can load English books, reading books, math, science, where students can actually read through the textbooks and have access to that information. Now, reading the textbook is one thing, but actually learning it is a different thing. So there's the workbook mode. And in the workbook mode, you can take tests and quizzes that give you instant feedback and tell you if you got the questions right or wrong and how to do them correctly. Furthermore, teachers are able to actually access these textbooks and these quizzes and keep track of the students. Currently in the market, the competition, there is no demanding force in the market with this, with tablets under the price point of $200. So currently there's the Kosh tablet, 1 laptop per child, and then the Kindle and Nook. However, all three of these do not tackle both the hardware and the software aspect of it. If you have the software, fine, the kid can learn from it, but if they can't actually plug the computer into the wall, what good is that software? And if they have the hardware, but don't have the software that's actually going to teach them, again, it's no good. The iSlate tablet has both the software and the hardware to actually merge the two and help the children properly learn. I'm going to pass it over to Mike, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the business aspect of the iSlate.
Thank you, Sam. So initially, our company will focus on West African countries, with our entry point being in Liberia. There are 4 target markets that we'll focus on in Liberia: the government, NGOs, parents, and private schools. Each of these markets will come together and form a symbiotic relationship that will drive product adoption and consumer awareness. First off, the government. The Ministry of Education in Liberia has developed its own customized curriculum. And this customized curriculum is used in all public schools across the country. Additionally, all the private schools in Liberia use this curriculum as a base to develop its own school plans. Therefore, the Ministry of Education has substantial influence over the education system in Liberia. We will target this market and drive our push strategy in order to create product awareness and revenue through the public and the private school sectors. Additionally, we will target the government as one of our potential customers to actually purchase iSlates and distribute the product throughout the education system. NGOs also provide us with another customer base. We assume that we will get a large revenue stream from these NGOs that are already funding numerous education programs in Liberia. Third, the parents. This will drive our pull marketing strategy. Parents are already very concerned about their children's education and well-being and are very, very excited about anything that can help their child succeed more in the developing country. Fourth, private schools. Private schools operate somewhat independently from the public school system, and thus they are a separate market on their own. We have met with several school administrators and principals who are very excited about the idea about the iSlate. Additionally, students that participate in public or private schools already pay more for education and educational materials such as textbooks. Therefore, we anticipate a faster adoption rate within this sector. A faster adoption rate in the private sector will push adoption rates in the public school sector because none of these sectors want to be left behind together educationally. In total, we see that the target market in Liberia is about 500,000 students. The iSlate has been designed to be very easy to use. However, it does take a little instruction to maximize its educational value. Therefore, we will establish a learning center in Liberia that will help with support and ongoing issues. This center will be available to teachers, students, parents, and NGOs. And the best part about this center is it will be run by Liberians. When we were in the country, we actually interviewed and hired 2 co-directors of the center who are as excited as we are to introduce the product in Liberia. Additionally, as Sam mentioned, each of these iSlates will come preloaded with the Liberian curriculum. And as each student progresses to the next grade level, the additional curriculum will be available on a USB slate that can be inserted into the iSlate, generating a nominal fee for us, but continued learning for the student. We estimate in year 1 of operations to have revenues of $2 million, but negative cash flows. By year 3, we will break even, and by years 5 and 10, hit revenue objectives of $6.5 million and $11.8 million, respectively. We've gone a long way and have a lot of positive momentum right at this very time. Currently in a rural area in India, the iSlate is being tested among teachers and students, and we're getting positive results from both. As a matter of fact, early information shows that the iSlate is very intuitive to use among teachers and students of various age ranges. and has created a sort of educational bump in terms of what students are learning. Additionally, as Sam mentioned, we spent a week and a half in Liberia collecting market research and, most importantly, making contacts in the country. We met with the Minister of Education who supports the iSlate. We've met with 4 NGOs, USAID, UNICEF, the World Bank, and the World Learning Center, who all have supported us in bringing the iSlate to Liberia. We have our infrastructure in place. Like I mentioned, we have 2 co-directors of our center ready to go. We've met with teachers, students, parents, PTO groups, school administrators, and the government. And all are on board and support the iSlate. The next step is we need funding to get the program started. We need $1.2 million in Series A financing to cover year 1 operations, hire the rest of our librarian staff, purchase inventory, and cover working capital. The iSlate. Please help us provide a library for every child. We look forward to visiting with you in the reception. Thank you.